There will be a PTA council is holding a forum on May 12th at 7 p.m., which is really the appropriate place for the questions and answers to be done. It is moderated by an impartial third party. So definitely you can forward any of your questions to us or to the Pelham PTA Council. And that email address will be on our website for everybody. We will be hearing from each candidate. They will be giving their statement. They have 3 minutes to do so, and we will be having and seeing them this evening in alphabetical order. So I'm just going to read the names. Eileen Miller will be first, and then Michael Owen McCain, then Janice Powers, then Ian Rowe, and Jess Young. So I hope I said everybody's name correctly. And we will definitely, after the presenters, after they speak, after their presentations, we will make sure to give everyone information about how they can reach the candidates. The candidates I know have already given out a lot of information on how to engage them, but we will have their email addresses on our website. Okay, so if you guys have any questions at all and you would like to speak with them, please feel free to email them and or go check them out wherever they're going to speak. So I think that is where we're going to start. I would like to hand it over to Eileen. Where are you? There you are. Hi. You're up in my corner, so I'm like, where is she? Who is, yes?
I just wanted to mention that Stacey is going to be the timekeeper for this. So
make sure you have her in your view. And go for it.
Okay. Thank you very much for having us all at your meeting tonight. We appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk to you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Please attend your own school's PTA's meetings as well, because tonight I'm really going to keep my comments solely about special education. But there are a lot more reasons to vote for me. When I ran 3 years ago, I knew that I had no experience with or real understanding of our special education program because I had never had a student in it. So I knew I needed to learn more about it. And what I did was I talked to anyone and everyone who would talk to me. I spoke to Rosemary Matthews, who was our previous assistant superintendent for pupil personnel services. I talked to a previous SEPTA president. I've talked to neighbors who have had kids in the programs as well. And what I learned first is that Pelham has one of the most robust special education departments in Westchester County. And that's largely due to Rosemary Matthews and the hard work that she did to add programs to our special ed department. She had a guiding principle, which was to keep as many students in the district as possible. So she added on programs, which turned out to not only be great for keeping our own students in the district, but when we're able to add students to those programs, we actually become the school for other districts who don't offer the programs that we do. So in addition to being able to service our kids, we also have a little bit of a revenue stream from that, which is great. So the real question is, what does the Board of Ed do with respect to special education? And one of the most important things we do is we make sure that as many students in the district are being provided with supports in the least restrictive way possible. And that the procedures that we have are being followed so that everybody who needs supports can get them equitably. In addition, in the last 3 years, the term that I've been on, we hired Julia Chunk, who we are super proud about. And we rely on her really to bring us more and new supports and therapies and interventions. She's done that by bringing in DBT. Also last year in our budget, we were able to increase our mental health services by providing psychologists in all the elementary schools, as well as an additional social worker in the high school. So I feel like we've also done a good job taking care of the mental health side as well. One difficulty that parents have shared with me is often not knowing where to turn or who to ask when they have questions about either starting the process or within the process. And one thing that I'm aware of is, let me say that there is a very prescribed way to reach out and who to reach out to. There's also a SEPTA handbook that I have a very old version of, but I'm sure that your SEPTA presidents continuously update that. And it is a wealth of information of what to expect, what services are offered, and who to speak to.
Eileen, I think we're at 3 minutes.
Okay, great. So I hope the board's always available for emails or public comment or calls. And I hope that you'll reach out if you need it and vote for me on May 18th. Sorry about that, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Haley. No, it wasn't, no problem at all. All right, so the next person up that we'd like to invite to speak is Michael Owen McCain. Go ahead, Michael.
Michael, you are muted.
Michael, you're muted. Sorry, I was muted because I was trying to respect that.
Sorry. I mostly see people, I still work in person, so I'm still like not up to speed with Zoom, it's like everyone else is. Thank you for the invitation to introduce myself and speak to you tonight. Thank you to the board of SEPTA, and I see a lot of familiar faces and names, so it's nice to see everyone virtually. My name is Michael Owen McCain. I'm a doctor and assistant professor of medicine at the Columbia University Medical Center. I live in Pelham with my husband Maurice and our 4 kids, Caleb, Abby, Jacob, and Eve. The work you are doing in SEPTA is very important, especially now when 1 in 88 children are affected by some form of autism and 8% of children are diagnosed with ADHD. Providing services to students with special needs is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. My sister Whitney was born very prematurely in 1984 and has cerebral palsy. Growing up, I learned to always look out for my sister and defend her no matter what. Both of my parents are retired public school teachers, and my mom is certified in special education. I learned from my parents that it can be a struggle to get your child the services they need. I grew up watching my parents fight for Whitney. They tried private Montessori school, then public school, and then had to switch to a different public school system. They advocated for her nonstop and got her physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and vision therapy. Whitney was in a general education class and later a self-contained class. I remember many years that we didn't take the vacation because it was more important to get Whitney the help she needed. Whitney didn't have the fine motor skills to hold a pencil, but she was able to type. The school system wouldn't pay for a computer, so my parents used all of their savings to buy the very first Apple laptop called the PowerBook 100, which was a huge expense on a teacher's salary, and I was definitely not allowed to touch it. Whitney was my inspiration to become a doctor. I wanted to be like the doctors, nurses, and therapists that had helped her so much. I advocate every day for my patients to get the help they need from insurance companies and government agencies. Since moving to Pelham, I have known several families who felt they had no choice but to move to a different school district so their kids could get the services they needed. Maurice and I have also faced challenges getting help for one of our own kids, despite having recommendations from outside professionals. I promise to use my position on the board to advocate and speak up for parents and students with learning differences, different physical and cognitive abilities, and social and emotional challenges. Every student must receive appropriate services so that they can learn effectively and reach their full potential. This is the right thing to do, and it's the law. Every student is guaranteed a free, appropriate public education. I promise to advocate for concrete steps as part of our strategic plan to make all of our buildings ADA compliant.
Michael, we're at 3 minutes. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're at 3.
Just finish up. No student should struggle to move around their school building. I promise to set high expectations for our school administration and hold them accountable. I will ask Dr. Champ and Dr. Chung for regular updates on how many parents are requesting evaluation for building level services or by the Committee on Special Education and how those requests have been addressed. thank you for your consideration. I ask you to please vote for me, Dr. Michael Owen Mashana, on May 18th for Board of Education, because I will always listen and advocate for your child. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, the next person we are going to speak with or hear from, excuse me, is Janice Powers. Hi, Janice. Take it
Hi.
away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. First, I just want to say that I love that SEPTA goes by the saying, supporting families with exceptional children, because I believe language matters, and it's a beautiful way to pivot away from some of the stigmas of the past, particularly when I was younger. I remember, how those stigmas affected students in my own public school education. I've been in Pelham for 7 years, and through my intimate friendships with neighbors, as well as within my own family, I have witnessed different approaches that families have used to try to address their child's learning needs. I've seen the child in general population who has thrived in the lower grades with an aid. I've seen the family that's in the upper grades has invested tons of money in private tutors. And unfortunately, I've also seen families who have sold their house, left the district, and pursued private education elsewhere. But one thing this has taught me is that one size does not fit all when it comes to our children's ability to learn and to become engaged learners. I'm also aware that these sorts of decisions are intimate and confidential, and they're made at the building level. So what can I do if I were to be elected to the Board of Education here in Pelham? Well, first, I am an empathetic and understanding person, but I'm also a very flexible thinker. I think our district has a very strong strategic plan that's going to be in place at least until 2024. So with the dual arms of both budget and policy, I would support the whole child pillar of the strategic plan, as well as cultural competency, which I feel is interrelated in this area. I also would support decisions made by pupil personnel services regarding hiring and also development of teachers, because as the science changes in this area, we need our staff to be able to recognize which students have what needs. I also am supportive of the multi-tier support system. I think that's a beautiful system that fosters inclusion, but I think it also is a good way to prepare students for higher learning or even the real world interactions that they have to be prepared for. I also support early intervention. I think as young as kindergarten, because we don't have preschool here like you would have in the city, but as young as you can identify the needs of students, you can also address them. And I think that's important. And I think that just overall, just understanding the role of a Board of Education person, I'm not there to make decisions about IEPs or 504s, but I am there to support the assistant superintendents and the personnel when they propose their policies, and to find room in the budget to make these things a reality for all of our students. Thank
Janice, we're at 3 minutes. Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. I appreciate that. Okay, so now we are moving on. All right, so Jess, let's move on to you, Miss Jessica.
Okay.
Jess, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's either one. I mean, there's two of us, but we both go by Jess and Jessica, so it gets confusing. So I'm Jess Young. I'm a current trustee on the Board of Ed. I'm a Hutchinson parent. I have a daughter in 5th grade, and she's going to be in 6th grade next year, which I'm super excited, moving into the middle school. And so I'm running to continue the work that I've been doing on the 2018 bond projects, including the new Hutchinson School, which is being delivered on time and on budget. I'm super excited. Dr. Champ shared all those pictures. It's an amazing building, and I'm glad you all got to see how it's coming along. I want to be on the board to represent my Hutchinson community. I'm the only candidate and BOE member that's from Hutchinson, and I feel it's very important that all parts of our town are represented on the board. And I'm also ultimately running to support all our students so that they can find success. It's a bit of a learning curve when you're on the board, and I feel like I'm really hitting my stride, and I'm excited to continue the hard work ahead as we bring our students back into the building. And with this full-time students, and we need to ensure that we're supporting them emotionally, socially, and academically. I'm very proud of the Brown work, like I said, and one of the main features it's doing is furthering the accessibility of our elementary schools. With the work at Hutchinson and the work that's going to be happening at Prospect Hill, we'll have new elevators at those schools, which will make those buildings both fully accessible, which they weren't in the past. So 3 out of our 4 elementary schools will be accessible. Also, the layout of Hutchinson is quite amazing. Like there's all these resource rooms and small group instruction rooms between the classrooms. Like it's a new dynamic for learning, and I'm really excited that we have this in our community. Also at Prospect Hill, we're providing accessible bathrooms as part of the renovation that's underway. So I'm looking, as this relates to special education, I'm looking forward to continuing to work with our administrators to support the programming that's been recommended by our superintendent of PBS, Julia Chung. We did hire her as a board, and we love having her, and her team of administrators, including Lauren Ribeiro and Greg Lau, bring to us programs and things that we want to further as a board. I'll continue to make sure the programs are in place to support all of our students and hire excellent people, teachers and staff, to make sure that all of our students get the supports they need. I believe success for special education students comes through communication and collaboration between parents and teachers. I think the multi-tiered systems of support program, the MTSS program that we've been working with in the district recently, furthers this communication and collaboration between the support staff and the teachers at the building level. It's an organized evaluation process that assesses both emotional and educational needs of a student and makes sure they're getting the targeted supports that they need. On a personal level, I'm happy to help any parent find the building level resources that they need. I know it's a difficult process, and I want to help as best I can. I want to hear the needs and concerns of my community, my friends and neighbors, and be able to represent that on the board. And I want to work to further the goals of the strategic plan and support the whole child. I want to create an environment where all our students feel welcome, supported, respected, and challenged to reach their individual goals.
Yes, we're at 3 minutes.
Great. And I hope you vote for me on May 18th. Thank you.
All right, Sarah.
Thank you, Jess.
All
Sarah,
me.
can
Get
you
it,
hear me?
Sylvia?
Well, I'm gonna figure something out. I'm gonna
Okay.
jerry rig this because
Why not? When in
I'm gonna
doubt.
solve the problem. So I put it on my iPad and I'm gonna hold my microphone up to it so you guys can hear it properly. And I'll probably just peer around it to make sure that if someone could just give me a heads up to make sure that you can tell me you can hear it. Okay.
Okay, you bet I will.
All right.
Okay, well, hold on. Okay, so now we see Ian.
Let's see. Nope.
We have 2 children, Oscar 9 and
Hold on.
Camille 11. I'm sorry I can't be with you live.
Wait a second. I got it. Oh my God.
You see the birthday.
Here we go.
My wife Sylvia and I have lived in Pelham since 2012.
Can you guys hear
We
it?
have 2
Yes,
children,
perfect.
Oscar 9 and Camille 11. I'm sorry I can't be with you live. I had a pre-scheduled presentation with UC Berkeley on how education can help expand opportunity for lower income Americans as we emerge out of the pandemic. So thank you for the opportunity to present a video recording. First, let me say thank you to SEPTA, because in our early days in Pelham, it was SEPTA that helped Sylvia and me navigate the system so that our son Oscar could receive services from a speech pathologist. That made a huge difference for us as parents and to him. I'm very grateful for SEPTA because I have a deep appreciation for how much parents of students with exceptional needs themselves need help to support their kids. For the last decade, I was CEO of a nonprofit network of elementary and middle public charter schools in the heart of the South Bronx and the Lower East Side of Manhattan. We had more than 2,000 students across 5 campuses. We had significant numbers of students with a wide range of learning needs, many of whom had 504 plans or IEPs that mandated specialized interventions and instruction more than 60% of the time that they were in school. Because of the large population of students with special needs, under my leadership, we passed school budgets that invested heavily in special education and professional development. Sometimes people forget what IEPs are supposed to stand for: individualized education plans. Our philosophy was to start early and develop customized solutions so that there was no one-size-fits-all approach. That's why we offered at least one integrated co-teaching class per grade, per campus, starting in kindergarten, going all the way up through 8th grade. In these ICT classes, we paired a general education and a certified special education teacher together. We offered leadership stipends to top teachers to pursue their special education credentials, hired learning specialists, and held child study teams, which met regularly and included a learning specialist, parents, the child's teacher, and when appropriate, the child, him or herself, so that they could take an ownership role in their own learning. These are just some of the interventions I have led in support of kids with special needs. Carolyn is already doing some great work in this area, but since I announced my candidacy for school board, I have heard from parents both praise and despair for the special education services that their children have received. I've heard from many that it is too complex to navigate the system and that services are sometimes applied inconsistently. As a board member, I would bring the perspective of someone with experience, advocating for excellent services for kids to ensure that in Pelham, every child receives consistent, high-quality accommodations, regardless of their learning profile. Thank you.